my name is Sarah and today we're talking about DNFing. So DNFing, or choosing not to finish a book, is something that readers of all types have varying opinions on. Some people are like really serious about it and think that if you start a book then you need to finish it, and then I know a lot of people that will DNF at the drop of a hat. If they don't like it by 40 pages or 50 pages in, they're done. They don't want to waste their time on a story that they are not enjoying, and they would rather spend their reading time reading books that they are already going to love and appreciate and probably want to reread eventually. I am one of those people who hardly ever DNFs books. I started using Goodreads to track my reading in 2013, and since 2013 I have never DNF'd a book. I have had one or two books where just for whatever reason I couldn't really get into it at the time, and so I put it down and set it aside, but with the intention of picking it up later, and all of those books I have since picked up and wound up finishing the entire book. When it comes to books I choose to read on my own, I genuinely cannot think of a book that I have DNF'd in the last 10 years. And that is for a few different reasons. One of them, and this is sort of the overarching reason of why I don't DNF, is that I'm just really stubborn. I don't like to admit defeat. I don't like to admit that this book bested me, especially if it's a piece of classic literature, or if it's a particularly long piece of literature, or it's a piece that I've been warned about how dense it is or how difficult it is to get through or whatever. Even if I'm not necessarily enjoying it, even if I'm struggling with some of the characters or the writing or the density or whatever, I will just keep pushing through because I just sort of feel like I have to prove it to myself and or to whoever warned me about the book that I could finish it. Another reason that I pretty much never DNF books is FOMO. Fear of missing out, that whole thought process that what if I give up on this book at 100 pages or 150 pages or whatever, and if I had just kept reading it, it was going to be the most amazing book that I just absolutely totally loved. Because while in general I don't tend to give 4.5 to 5-star ratings to books that I sort of want to DNF, there are still some books that the turnaround from the beginning to the end of the book or whatever is just so vast that I just can't help but gush about it. And I just tell people, you just gotta power through the first 100 pages or the first 150 pages or whatever, because after that it's amazing. And so that fear of oh my gosh, what if this is an amazing book that I just love, but I gave up on it too soon. Another reason that I pretty much hardly ever DNF is that I am one of those people that loves to know where you're going with a story. So if I'm reading a book and it's dragging for whatever reason, I will still stick with it because I'm you're going somewhere with this. Where are you going? I want to know what all of this craziness or this slow dialogue or this character who doesn't seem to have anything to do with the plot or whatever. I want to know where you're going with this. And it does happen sometimes that I wind up disappointed with wherever the author was going, that the payout at the end of the book was not worth the however many days or weeks or hours or whatever that I spent slogging through this story. But then at least I know that I don't enjoy that story and that I don't want to interact with it again, rather than always having this what if and that fear of, oh my gosh, what if this was the best story ever? The other reason that I pretty much never DNF is that I am an eternal book optimist. I believe it was sometime last year, Mari from the channel My Name is Marines did a video on DNFing, and she titled it Eternal Book Optimist, and in it she talked about her just thought process that she's always an optimist when it comes to books. And she doesn't DNF very often because she just hopes that all books will get better, that she has this optimistic viewpoint when it comes to the stories she reads. And I remember watching that and I was like, this is me. I am an eternal book optimist. Even if I'm not enjoying a story, even if I'm not enjoying a character, even if something happens that I don't like, I always approach it with the idea that, oh, it'll fix itself. I always think dead characters are going to Sherlock themselves. I almost always hope that a character that I hate will redeem itself. I hope that a plotline that I don't enjoy will somehow turn out in a way that I really enjoy or whatever. I'm just a book optimist, a glass half full kind of person. I always like to give the author the benefit of the doubt and hope that as they continue through the story, things will just get better and better, and I will wind up really enjoying whatever I've been reading. And yes, that does result in me occasionally reading mediocre books or books that I don't particularly enjoy, or it taking me 4 months to get through one book. But I have found in recent years that there haven't been that many books that I have wanted to DNF. And I don't know if that is because they're just well paced enough that even if I'm not enjoying the story, I don't feel like the story drags too much. But for the most part, very few of the books that I've read over the last couple of years, I have wanted to DNF, or I have had occasion to say, not now, I'm going to put this aside for later and pick it up at a different time. Wuthering Heights is one of those books where I started it and I was about 80 pages in and I was just like, can't do this right now. But I wound up picking it up last year, and I didn't particularly wind up enjoying the story, but I read through the whole thing, and at least I know now that I am not a fan of Wuthering Heights. So there you have it, friends. Those are a few of the reasons that I pretty much never DNF books. Like, ever. So if over the course of 2016 or however many years I continue booktubing, I wind up DNFing a book, just know that it's like a really big deal, because it pretty much never happens. I would love to hear your thoughts on DNFing, so please let me know in the comments. Are you someone like me who is an eternal book optimist, and for any of the reasons I mentioned or different reasons are one of those people that pretty much never DNFs? Or are you a person that will DNF a book at the drop of a hat? Or are you somewhere in the middle? If you want to follow me elsewhere online, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads, all at Sarah Ann Hayes. The links for those profiles will be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye! The Way of the World with this, The Way of the Travels is another one that I DNF'd for that British literature. Gulliver's Travels is another one of those. So even if I'm not necessarily like with it, so far.